good 10 years ago at this point, I took a week-long intensive leadership course at a seminary. It was a course on community organizing. And the man that was behind the course was kind of like the godfather of the program, and he was well into his 70s at that point. And I remember so clearly one day of the course, he got up in front of this room of 80 Episcopal and Lutheran seminarians, and he asked, "How old do you need to be a leader?" And the room is kind of like huffing and puffing, and people are saying under their breath, "Well, you can be a leader at any age." And finally, one person says it aloud, "You can be a leader at any age." And the man says, "No, you have to be 30. And one of the Lutheran seminary students stands up and goes, "Hey, that's not fair. You don't have to be 30 to be a leader." And this man laughs and asks, "Well, how old are you, son?" 36. Well, I remember sitting there at age 22 feeling like, no, he's right, man. I'm not ready to be a leader of anything. I love this passage from 2 Kings this morning because it shocks us with a few easy to overlook details. King Josiah was 8 when he became the king. He was 26 when this story takes place. He was 39 when he died. Christ Lutheran, can you imagine handing over the keys to an 8-year-old? Can you imagine having your entire organization's mission and vision renegotiated by a recent college grad? Can you imagine having your full 30 years vested in your pension before you even turn 40? I can't. That's not the main point of the story. This is not a story about how old people in leadership ought to be. It is a story about reigniting a community's commitment to God. And there just so happens to be a young adult at the center of the story. This raises a series of fundamental questions for us about leadership that we have to ask before we can even get into this Bible passage. How old do you need to be a leader? What does it mean to be a religious leader? In a religious community, what are we trusting our leaders with? How do we decide who to trust with our leadership? What qualifies someone for that leadership? Is it age? Is it experience? Is it education? Is it a credential? How much do we define good leadership as just whether or not they make the same decisions that I would make or that you would make? What room do we have for leaders that are called by God, even if they are not who we would choose? What if they lack the age, the experience, the education, or the credential that we would prefer, but God has chosen them anyway? Now, in my esteem, the work of religious leadership is to keep a community focused on the work of the greatest commandment, which is to keep us on track to love God, love our neighbors, and love ourselves. It is about maintaining the faith of the church and then building a community that is animated by that faith to do the work of friendship and the work of care. And rather than first looking at resumes, it feels much more interesting to me instead to talk to people of all ages and ask them how they would approach that responsibility. These are questions that I think people of all ages can have insight in. It could be as simple as, what do you think our church does well? What do you think we could be doing better? How do you think we should welcome newcomers? What new ideas would you like to try in worship? What songs would you like to sing in worship? What problems do you see in the greater Fredericksburg community that you would like us to put our effort toward addressing? What kind of social events do you think it would be fun for us to have together? And if we found an extra $10,000 in the budget and gave it to you to spend for us, what would you buy for us? I don't think that giving away leadership means we make an 8-year-old the king, though I think we ought to wonder why not. I think giving away leadership does mean that we show an interest in how people of all ages, all backgrounds, all life stages, all perspectives, it means showing an interest in how they would lead us, and then being brave enough to let them try, and rooting for them while they give it a go. This has been a very funny learning for me as a still newish priest, still feeling very new in my role as the college and young adult missioner. And it's felt very counterintuitive. I'm the priest. I'm in charge. And more I realize that my job as the priest is to give my authority away. At my young age of 32 years old, I feel at times already out of touch with the lives and the values and the perspectives of my college students and my young adults. And a community that is built entirely out of the ideas and the machinations of a gay, 32-year-old depressed clergy person will mostly attract other gay, 32-year-old depressed clergy people, of which there are not very many in this town. My leadership of my young adults is as much making the space for them to lead each other and to lead me as well, as it is my simple leadership of them. I think it happens a lot that teenagers and young adults in the church have to possess a certain level of patience and stamina for the decisions that are made for them on behalf of them by adults. And I wonder, do adults then desire to have the same patience and stamina for decisions made on their behalves by teenagers, by young adults, or even by 8-year-olds? My college students and my young adults have shown me a great deal of patience in my time, and I'm learning that it is my job now to show them the same. Again, I say all this not to say that we need to hand over the keys to the kingdom to a third grader, though I would like to see what happens. It is not the moral of the story, but it is a crucial detail of the story. The moral of the story is that it is the responsibility of every generation and every member of this community to pursue the work of faith in God and care for one another. It is every generation's responsibility to do that, and every generation has the capacity to lead us in doing that. By today's standards, King Josiah should have just been in the Sunday school. By today's standards, Jesus could have only been put in charge of the 20s and 30s group. So don't hand over the keys just yet, but do start by asking folks how they would lead us given the chance. And then don't argue with them about their answers. I think that you just might be surprised and probably excited by what they have to say. I sure bet that they were surprised when King Josiah came forward to all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem and told them about a book that he found that would change everything. Amen.